There we go. So tell me a little bit about this project of yours that you've been working on. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, well, the A Nice Girl Like You. Yeah, so it was released on the 17th, and it was meant to be theatrical, but obviously under the circumstances of what's happened, it's gone to digital and video, like video on demand. So it's about a story about a girl called Lucy Nell, played by Lucy Hale, who gets labelled pornophobic by her boyfriend, and so she goes on this wild sex to-do list. And along the way, she meets my character, Grant Anderson, who's the male love interest. And it's based on the book Pornology by Anne Gailey, and it was adapted into a screenplay by Andrea Marcellus. So it's a romantic comedy.
Nice. And how would you describe your character?
Well, he's the male love interest, I suppose, that she meets along the way, and he gets kind of wrapped up into this world of hers. And it's kind of probably halfway, three-quarters through the film, where I think he kind of realizes there's something that's like there's something different about this girl that he can't really pinpoint.
Nice. And what would you say was the biggest challenge about playing this role?
Probably look, it's not too much of a stretch. I feel I think Lucy had the hardest bit because she has to like react in awkward situations, and my character is just literally reacting to Lucy. So mine wasn't as difficult as hers. But I think maybe probably the sex scenes, I suppose, but it's very like tamed down. But I think that would be probably the biggest, I suppose, challenge.
And tell me a little bit about working with Lucy. I mean, she's a pretty amazing actress too.
Yeah, absolutely. She really is. She's incredible. Very professional. Absolutely like a sweetheart. And especially someone at her caliber, like how hungry and driven she still is, and that really rubbed off on me, especially where I was saying this to someone else, where I think there's those 1%ers of those people, the difference between the 1% and everyone else. And you can just see why they're at that 1% is because they just work so hard. And it was very inspiring to be around. It definitely was like, okay, that's where I've got to get to.
Yeah. So what else did she teach you as an actor that you learned from her?
What did she teach me? Well, I mean, there was like a moment in one of the scenes towards the end of the film where I think I made a suggestion about, like, what if I tried like going this way instead of that? And then she was talking about, oh no, I don't think that will work because of the shot, because that's a whole camera move. And just little things like that where I'm like, oh yeah, like she's just switched on as well, like looking at the big picture. And that was little things like that again that I picked up on.
Very good. And did you learn anything from anybody else? Anyone else give you some advice about acting or anything else?
No, I don't think so much. Like they were really easy going, you know what I mean? As far as like gave you the kind of freedom to do what you want. And then if it was kind of out of the realm, let's just bring it back and let's just try this. But then you'd have the freedom to try things as well, which was really great. Like the brothers, Chris and Nick, who directed it, are just such, again, I mean, I've got nothing but nice things to say about everyone on this movie. Like just such sweethearts.
Great. Yeah, you hear that often, but still it's amazing to see the genuine look in your eyes when you talk about it. It's just a beautiful thing to see.
Thank you. Well, I mean, look, making a movie is always a tough thing. It's like you're going into battle, with all these people, and you've got a budget, you got producers, you got directors, and everyone's putting a different input, and there's creative differences, and there's going to be tension, absolutely. But with this, it was just I didn't notice anything. Like there was no arguments, nothing. I mean, maybe they kept it away from us, but I don't think that's the case. Like everyone was just so amazing on this and it shows. And I think when you have an environment like that, then you can play a little bit as an actor and you have the freedom where you don't feel that tension.
And what was your favorite memory from filming?
Well, there's always the memory that sticks out of like going to the actual sex show, which is pretty like that was pretty eye-opening. That was definitely yeah, one of the memories that kind of sticks out.
Was it a real one, or was it
Yeah.
a man made up? Oh, it was a real one.
Yeah,
Oh,
so we got to go to
okay.
a sex exhibition, not a sex show. that's a bit.
I was just gonna say.
No, yeah, not a sex show. It was a sex exhibition. and it was in Jersey somewhere. And they obviously called ahead and said, like, you know, can we do this? Yada, yada. And we also had the art department set up a box for us for the scene that we needed. And then we would go and get, like, I suppose, B-roll of us walking around and of this sex exhibition. And it was yeah, it was pretty eye-opening. And it was, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. I'm like a little kid. I'm like a really immature 12-year-old. I'll be like laughing the whole time, like.
Yeah, no, it's like, you know, people over here are getting whipped and like they're doing like sexual leathers and like people are doing stuff over here, and then it's like the craft services. Oh yeah, the table's ready. Okay, thanks. It's like two completely different things.
That's pretty epic. I could see where that would be an interesting memory for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even though we're in a middle of a pandemic right now, do you have anything else planned for the future?
I've been doing a bit of my own. So I've written a film that I'm trying to that I've been editing at the moment. I just did my first table read on Monday with my acting class just to hear it off the page. So I've got that in the works. That's been 14 years I've written this. And
Wow.
I know, yeah, it's a love story. It was kind of based on like when I was 21. And what was like my first real love. And I feel like the only way I could get over her was like to write about it. And so I started writing, and then I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if this happened and that? And then I'm like, I looked at it and I thought, oh, this could actually be a good movie. So now it's completely changed. It's probably 90% fiction and 10% real. But I'm at a stage where I'm trying to shop this around now. I've got to do a few tweaks with the edits, which I'll be doing, you know, this week and today as well. So I've got that, and I've also got a TV show that I've written and created with my brother called Cafe Races. It's a documentary adventure. So it's about two best friends who travel the world to the most exotic coffee plantations and communities on the planet, and they do it on motorbikes. And it's all about how coffee brings people together from all walks of life, doesn't matter where you're from. And so we're tracing the bean back to the source. So we shot the pilot in Bali and Melbourne. And so now I'm at a stage where that's being shopped around, and I think we might have some, some stuff this week that we're working towards. So
Very nice. I can't wait to see that. I'm a huge coffee drinker,
oh,
so
me
yes.
too. What's your go-to coffee?
I usually just drink it with a little bit of cream when I'm at home, but when I'm at Starbucks, I have to get something different every time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What
Yeah.
about you?
Latte. Or a flat white, which is what the Australians have. It's just I have to. As soon as I smell that coffee, I'm just like, bing, like ready to
Yes.
go.
Yes, exactly. Wake up, make it, smell it, and it's like a big cup, 2 or 3, depending on the day.
Absolutely, I know, absolutely, yeah.
Nice. And one thing I like to ask the people I interview is tell me a fun fact about yourself that might surprise people.
Well, I don't want to say semi-professional, but I was close to being a cricket player in Australia. So,
Wow.
so do you know cricket?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's the game that everyone's like, it goes for 5 days and you still can't get a result. So it's really the closest to baseball. So that's actually when I grew up. I grew up in a small town of 3,000 people. And then 3 days after the high school certificate, which is like the year 12, like I finished school, I moved to Sydney to pursue a career in cricket. There was a cricket club that, kind of found me a house and a job and kind of set me up to go after cricket. And I just crumbled. I just didn't do what I wanted to do. I put so much pressure on myself, and I ended up nearly resenting it because I was overworked. And then, that started acting like literally immediately. I'm like, I always had fun with the video camera. I played around, and it was always just a fun thing to do. And so then I kind of transitioned into that, I suppose. Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. And since we're also a TV site, what are you watching on TV these days?
You know what? I'm watching Anthony Bourdain. I've been watching. It's a chef's journey, I think it is, on Amazon that I've been watching, and I just finished The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary. I love documentaries. I'm always a sucker for them.
Yeah, they're really good. I love watching them. There's so many different ones and like the true crime documentaries I'm
Yeah,
addicted to. And
yeah.
yeah, there's so many different good ones.
There was a mafia one too. I just watched on Netflix. I forget what it's called. It was only 3 episodes about the mob and the families in New York. I think it was in the 80s, 84. I think it was. I just watched that as well. So I haven't watched any. I always go to Seinfeld. I mean, that's always
You
Guinea.
have to. I mean,
Yeah,
you're in New York. If you're from New York or in New York, there's no excuse why you're not watching that.
yeah. It's always in the background. I feel like always.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. When I moved to Pennsylvania and I started quoting Seinfeld, there's like so I was so surprised how many people didn't get the references. I'm like, Seinfeld? Anyone?
Yeah, Seinfeld. Yeah, no soup for you. Hello.
Yeah, I said that. Everyone's looking at me like, what? I'm like, oh, now to be fair, they were a lot younger than I am because I'm
All right.
36. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
I said I did it was a reading for a film that was a few years ago, and there was a lot of like teenagers in it. And I sat there and I think it was when the Karate Kid come out. This was the Jaden Smith one. And I,
yes,
and I said to them, I'm like, oh yeah, no, like because it's like from the remake, and they're like, huh? There's a remake, and I'm like, what? You didn't know there's a remake? And I'm just like, that was the first time I was like, oh man, I feel really old now.
right, right. I happened to be a few months ago. I quoted The Princess Bride, and like nobody understood what I was talking about. And I'm like,
Not the right crowd.
not. So where can people find your movie and find you on social media so they can continue to follow your amazing career?
Oh, thank you. So it's on Amazon. It's on iTunes. I think we're the number one romantic comedy right now on iTunes, which is great. It's on Apple TV and any VOD like Fandango and Voodoo, I think it is. And I've got an Instagram account, Leo Gulaptis.
Ah, perfect. Well, it was a pleasure to speak to you today, and thank you so much for taking the time.
You too. Thank you so much, and lovely to
Yeah,
meet you.
likewise, and good luck with everything.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.